This is the first airlift that I've ever used collecting purple urchins, a small 1/4 inch to 2 inch urchin that covers the bottom of our reefs and ate all the kelp in 300 miles of Northern California's coast. This is the second version, a 10-inch version. The first 6.5 was full of problems. We worked them out, and the evolution of this is a tool that helps collect, and it does not suck up anything outside of the urchin, and they have to be knocked loose individually. This is a collection tool, and I can't build them for legal reasons, so I'm showing the audience how we build them and what we do with them. This is the first of 3 or 4 videos on the subject. There is no diving in this video. This is strictly a 30-minute tool building video. This is 1708. It's a biaxial weave of fiberglass. Has matte 3/4 ounce sewn to the backside, so it's a one-shot deal. This is what we like to build boats out of. It's quick. This is the material we use to make fiberglass tubes and the airlift out of. So, there's one. We're going to come down here. I think where's the sticky stuff? God dang it. Oh, here it is. Up here. We'll start on the top, lay it like that, and we'll spin it. Hopefully, we'll come down here.
You want it really flat?
Yeah, and is it sticking? Hand me the spray, will you, Mitch? Hold it there. And I'll spray it just before then. So nothing sticks to saran wrap. Okay, you guys, stick it right across this. It's this wide. Just stick that one edge. Good.
My way a little
right
bit.
There.
My way, Mitch.
Okay. Okay, we're ready to catalyze. So here's a little less than what you'd normally need because we're in direct sunlight. That's 1 ounce, and when you stir it, you notice the color's a dark blue. When you stir it, it'll change color. If it changes color in half a minute, it's probably too hot. This stuff will do permanent eye damage if you get it in your eyes, so good to wear something. And it's way too hot to work today. This is unusual for Fort Bragg. I usually stir this 50 times. It's starting to turn green now, which means it's pretty well stirred and it's pretty well going. In 30 seconds it should be a medium green. Within a minute it's starting to go tan. If it goes brown, you've either got to throw it away or add more resin to lower the concentration. This is about right. But these guys don't have all day, so now it'll be hot. And we have to soak this out. I don't use a brush like I think I mentioned before. Soak it out with a roller. I cut rollers in half to save material and save money. And
Harry, could you unplug that cord over there? Thank you.
And then Harry and I are going to put this on as soon as I get it. Out. Plastic across the table. And you've got to work the resin pretty quick. It soaks in fine when it's fresh, but once it starts to cure and go brown, it doesn't soak in as quick. And no reason to use a tray or a bucket, because pouring it on and rolling it out works really good. It saves you a lot of headaches, and if you need a little more resin at the end, you're short, you can squeeze out what's in the roller. I'm wearing some nice clothes for a change, so I got to be a little more careful than normal. See how it's brown over there, Mitch? Can you show the public that? That means we got maybe 5 minutes to do this. You never want to do this if you're new in the sun. Okay? Us. And then I'll walk down this way. I gotta go around this, unfortunately I went the wrong way. We're gonna lay it directly straight. You got your end all the way?
Now it is.
Okay.
Lay it.
Okay. Take your hands, do this. All the way up there's a wrinkle. Okay. And we're going to do it on the bottom on this side first. So if I made it too long, it'll just this side. All the way down on the surface, all the way across. It's up on your end. I don't know why. Okay. This isn't down. Okay. Roll and pull this cloth on the bottom as we roll it the other way. Okay. Got it overlapped? Good. That's it. We made a tube. This will go off in 5 minutes. Wow. This will be done in 5 minutes. Our gloves will be done too, but you can always patch it later. And we have a little overlap here. Even though I used, you'll see the gloves gone. That's good. It doesn't have to be a perfect tube. It just has to be smooth on the inside and rough on the outside, because the urchins will. Okay, we're done. Get your gloves off quick. That's it. There's the tube. This will be the seam. We'll soak this out after we cut that.
I'm Harry Barnard. I've been diving since around 1976. Took a couple years off in the late 70s to go to school, but dove in Washington and Alaska, coast of Oregon, and Southern California, Northern California. And I have no idea how many hours I've been in the water.
At least 20,000.
Really no idea.
Mark?
Yeah, Mark Evanoff. Diving since about 1978. Full-time harvest diver from San Pedro to Sitka, Alaska, and all points in between. And I too probably don't even want to bother calculating the hours, because it was a full-time job underwater. So
at least 40, 50,000, my estimate.
40 some years. That's my whole story.
Hey, my name is Ken Gherkin. I've been diving since '85 on the urchins from all of California, from San Diego up to Crescent City, and a lot of hours underwater for sure.
Easy 20, 30.
Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More than me.
Well, there was a few years, like you said, that you took off. I kept diving with Tom those years, but
Yeah.
so.
I'm John Holcomb, one of these guys. I'm the oldest one here, so I got them all in age. And I've been diving since 1961, but I didn't start commercial till '74 out of Half Moon Bay. And like these guys, we're all dedicated to getting the kelp back, and the only way we're going to do it is do it ourselves. We're not working for anybody but the Watermen's Alliance. It's the only nonprofit that's really put all their money where their mouth was. Josh Russo's the guy you want to contact if you want to donate to him. And we're going to start in April. We're going to use 2 airlifts. This boat, pan it, and these divers will just show you what we can do. That's all. I got these other guys here so that they know how to build them. If something happens to me, we're not out of business. We're trying to teach the young people and the sport divers as well how to use these, because at Casper, they got 4 more years to remove urchins any way they want. And I'm going to take this boat to Casper and dump a couple of these over the side with just the hoses attached. They can't use hookah legally, but they can use scuba. And if they use scuba and these, they'll really in rotating shifts with scuba, the divers that come to Casper will now feel really rewarded by what happened. And fiberglass is a really neat material. This is just material handling that you could fix anything with this. Pretty much any plastic. If you got an old Corvette, anything. That's it. There's your tube. Okay, and and this is post-cure. It's not completely hard yet. This is the time it's kind of nice to get this stuff out of here. It's like a turkey bag. So now the inside of the tube is as shiny as the saran wrap that it was glassed over. I left the seam here. I don't cut it on the seam because that just stiffens up the tube. And all I have to do is use some masking tape to hold it on the edge. So you see, fiberglass is really, really easy to use. All you need is some of these basic tools. And in fact, if you're making small parts, you can, lay the glass after you've cut it to shape down on a piece of plastic, soak it with resin, and build the whole thing with gloves. No nothing, Just squeeze out the excess or rub the back of your hand on it. And you can glass over any shape with saran wrap over it and make any mold off of anything. It's really user-friendly as long as you work outside and ideally in the shade. Here's your mold. I've got gloves on. You can't handle tape with gloves. Ken, would you stretch? You got those arms from... You're lucky you haven't worn your knuckles out on the ground. But the resin's so fresh, this will stick. You'll never be able to get this off. There it is. Okay, would you... that's it. So then, to do both sides, I just open it up and
Doing good on the commercial stuff? Yeah, but it's come and go. Yeah.
do them together.
At work, you used to ask me once or twice if I wanted to work. I always had something else going at the time. Kind of right now, I wish I
Too much resin again, but it's always nice to have more than you need.
hard work. There's a couple guys that came back. Overall, it was awesome. No, the work was easy, but the pay was
That didn't get done.
$100 an hour. That was so easy. It was fun to tell them
So then,
available. Yeah, but I don't know how people you done. We were doing for the fiber optic. It was just from
I'm gonna go over and roll the seam.
out maybe 300 feet. So
If you're doing something upside down like the bottom of a hull, you want to roll resin on it before you ever run your glass up against it, so you can hang your glass and it'll stick to the resin. And
I want to be on his boat with the bends. But that other Greg Updike, does the hard hat stuff under the ships. He recently asked me if I wanted to come out. I didn't take him up on it.
first time you forget to dry this off immediately, be the last time you use that roller frame. Then, mat down, of course. Sometimes when the resin's really wet, it's hard to tell which side's up. But this is real simple. Okay, you all the way at the end?
I am.
Okay, I'm at the end, down the middle. Rub it out, and we'll roll it. All the air bubbles are out this way. Okay, we'll roll it on its side. And now we want to put a little weight on it. Board? Oh man. Oh, you know that redwood board there, that junk, the big one? We'll just, we'll lean it from over here to the middle. That'll hold it kind of in a round pattern. I'll put this end over here, and you put that in the middle. That's it. Look down the tube. Push down on yours a little. It'll take the shape you give it. Cool. We're done. Perfect. So there's a tube. The elbow is a little more trouble, but I'll make that without anybody's help because it'll take 3 or 4 hours in the screen.
Make it 2 halves and then.
Well, I'll show you. Come on in the shed here.
Together.
Mitch, come on in here and we'll show these guys what I made. An inner tube at work. This is an update on the tube that we made. The inside was seamed as well as the outside, and we stretched saran wrap down inside. You'll love this stuff because if you're building, you can put it down over something before you glass over it, or you can put it on top to smooth it out. And it's a little bit of a mess to pull off, but it does come off. And then you're left with a smooth, shiny surface. If you're doing corners, flat surfaces, if you got air bubble problems, you just pop them with the point of a knife and they come out just smooth as you want. Then the strap I put here is for the air holes. One of the students working on a ROV project asked about. So I'm going to use 1mm or 1/16 inch bits to punch about 1,200 holes in that. This is a mold I made off of a truck tire inner tube, and I double wrapped it with glass here to make it flare, so that when I cast a mold off of 2 sides of this and join them, this will be a flared area, the nozzle of which the airlift plugs into and rotates around. You want it all to move. That's another detail. You don't lock it all together because when it moves, it gives you a big circumference. Yesterday I did a quick cleanup on the ends. I used a diamond wheel on a small tool and cleaned up the edges here. This is why I like this resin. I mean, if you want to take any other resin, epoxy or whatever, this Vinylester resin is really flexible. It goes a long way before it breaks. You know, this is just matte. There's no material in this at all except matte, which was beefed up when I cut out sections, and this mold will allow me to make a pretty good copy. Once it's sanded and waxed, I'm going to heavily wax it and then coat it with glass. I'll do half at a time, try and run the seams down here where they overlap to give it strength, because sometimes you're moving the gear underwater and you know all the effort is on this elbow, all the energy is transferred through it, so you want to put a stiffening rib, and I'll just overlap a top piece and an inside piece on this. An hour later, after sanding, going through about 10 number 80 grit discs, I've smoothed out the black resin I put on this. I painted it black so sunlight will heat it up and kick off the resin a little quicker when I make the molds. Now I've got to heavily wax this with paste wax. After 10 minutes and wax about a handful of it smeared over this mold, it's ready to be put away until I've cut the glass. And this basic paste wax tub will last you years if you build occasional prototypes. Also, it's important to use latex gloves, not vinyl, not nitrile. Nitrile dissolve in 5 minutes. Vinyl dissolve in 30 seconds in this resin. But these two pieces, a top piece that I made first and a bottom piece made over the top piece on the mold, covered entirely with saran wrap so the bottom piece wouldn't stick to anything, allow me to put the screen in at somewhere here, and the trim back is obvious because this is transparent. You can see where it's going to be cut. And this, for instance, has wax residue all over it from the outer surface. The inside has a different problem. That's the little lines from the saran wrap. But this does peel off, and there's nothing here to separate the resin from sticking to the next. So every now and then this foot-long rod with a little loop on the other end will be lifted up and swung back and forth to clear them and drop back down. That's just one of the slight problems that happens when you get into really shallow urchins, where they might have some ability to stick a little better than the totally weak and deeper urchin. Draw what you want to cut out. Use a cut-off wheel. I use a die grinder, and you can use electric. Electric's more powerful if you don't have air. And if you want, use these marker pencils, and I use acetone to erase them if you want to remove the marks so that it's all transparent when you're done. These buffing wheels on die grinders, the 3-inch, work really well to clean up and knock down the gloss, which you want to remove after 3 days so you can get a mechanical bond, and prep all your surfaces so that you know it's smooth. Now I haven't done the inside here. I got to grind off something left of the Bondo from the mold. Use the same die grinder to cut out the screen shape. Fitted that over the top of the hole that's been cut. The brace down the center will be glassed, and that stainless will be trapped in fiberglass inside and out, and it'll be trimmed up. And I'm going to cut off all these extra bits of the rivets because you don't want to over tighten them. It's very thin glass. One of the impressive parts about this glass, these are a couple of pieces I cut out, is just how flexible it is. I mean, if you want something strong that's going to take a lot of abuse, they say you can take a 10-foot boat made out of Vinylester and stuff it through an 8-foot hole. I'm going to mix a little bit of Vinylester resin with some talcum powder. That makes a good filler over the screen and make a smooth surface to glass over. I usually catalyze this first and then add maybe 4 times as much talcum powder as there is liquid to a nice thick mix. Then I cut out a piece of plastic. I can't afford to buy squeegees for everything. Just cut a piece of plastic out, slight curve, and that'll go right over the screen, make it smooth. And you can tape the edges so that the saran wrap doesn't pull down too tight and wrinkle up. And shrink wrap that saran wrap over the top. Gives you a nice smooth surface. You don't have to sand, and keeps slivers out of your hand later on. Just press on the material and press down your edges. Get rid of the air bubbles. That's a rivet. You can see the air go away when I drill these holes. There's about 1,400, 1,200 of them before you're done. 1 millimeter, and I left a tape in place so I could see the dust from fiberglass obscures where you're drilling, and that takes some time. It's kind of thankless, but that's how you get all those little tiny bubbles, creating quite a drill these holes. There's about 1,400, 1,200 of them before you're done. 1 millimeter, and I left a tape in place so I could see the dust from fiberglass obscures where you're drilling, and that takes some time. It's kind of thankless, but that's how you get all those little tiny bubbles, creating quite a... The elbow's almost finished and the holes are drilled in the top. So now I'll build a nozzle. It's funnel shaped for the intake with stainless buried in it. This is just a thin shell of mat wrapped with saran wrap covering a hose, and then saran wrap over it to make it a nice smooth shape. It'll be cut off about here and here. This is half of what will be, I don't know, something like this. And these pieces go over like this and give you an air chamber. It won't be this high. And then I'll glass in the fitting that comes up to a ball valve here. You just hold it in place while you fill it. And this is talcum powder and resin, and that bonds. And I'll remove these screws, grind this surface down, cut it off about here, open it up for a nozzle, and build a stainless bar into it so it won't wear. There are two straps here. One's about 6 inches wide, and it runs from here to here. The other overlapped from here, went over the top of the tube and down to here, and I saran wrapped, well, plastic wrap coated all of them. That allows you to take your finger and smooth out all the air bubbles. Removing them with this air cylinder keeps it from leaking, and it's strong as dirt. Now I'll carve out the angle of the nozzle and glass in the stainless rod that's going to be the wear point. These haven't been cleaned up yet, but these little snap shackles open and they'll grab a line similar to this on the other side. It'll be tight or loose depending on how it articulates, and I've already shown you how this works. This goes inside to knock loose the things, and I bent this so it counterbalanced the angle and kind of hang like this. I may have to put a little clip here to hold it. Same piece of 1.5-inch rubber hose ID that I used to make the collar around the air nozzle chamber, and I painted what wasn't transparent on this Airlift white so that you can find it underwater. A lot of times you're going back and forth with a bag to the boat, you forget exactly where it is, and finding it this color is not very easy to see underwater. It's not much different than the bottom. Now I'm going to cover this with a thin layer of mat like I've done other things, just as a shape, and then I'm going to glass over that. I'll flatten out the ends or cut them off to fit them around the nozzle and fill it full of 20 pounds of lead or whatever it takes. The reason it needs to be large is because that's the volume ID that the lead fills up. And this strap is to support the float, which a small float off the top of these airlifts allows the thing to stand up a little. I always use 3/4 ounce mat. You can use 1.5 ounces, but it just soaks up more resin. Details out of finishing up the air chamber and the handle. I wrapped the handle with a 50% overlap with a 3-inch wide strap of 1708, and finished up the air chamber with an inserted fitting to run from here up to a ball valve, which will be about here, and the diver, a right-handed diver using his left hand to hold this, will feed it from this side. This part now, with about 18 pounds of lead in the handle, weighs about 25 pounds, and this part weighs, I don't know, 5 pounds. It has a handle in here for cleaning out the urchins that might plug it up. That probably won't be a problem. These little snap shackles make it easy to disconnect and stow in the boat, and it's almost finished.